Alrighty. All right, welcome to our first sales call for August. We have Shania here talking to us about selling to different personalities. So we can't wait to hear what you're going to teach us today, Shania.
I'm excited. So first off, I just want to give some credibility to the sales girls. So if you have not listened to any of their content, podcasts, YouTube channel, etc., I want to give a shout out to them, specifically Macy McNeely, and then her father, Loy. They have a lot of good podcasts. So if you have not yet checked those out, feel free. Some of this content and just the overall concepts have been kind of taken and molded to fit our PT setting, and they have a lot of really good sales tips in general. So good resource to check out in your free time. So what we're going to go over today is we're going to delve into 4 different personality styles and how, as clinicians, we can sell to those different personality styles. You know, we all have kind of a way that we enjoy to be sold to, right? You know, some people are just like, yep, I want it. It's time. You know, that's kind of the driver, the doer, like just get to the point and I'm in, I'll buy. But then you have, you know, the analytical, the thinker, the methodical. That's what we're going to go over first, where they're going to require some more statistics to kind of be bought into what we have to offer. So it's going to be very interactive today. We're going to go over the thinker, analytical, methodical first. And then I'm going to have you guys kind of tell me what you think comes into that. So with the thinker, methodical, and then analytical, what do you guys think with, like, when I say like analytical?
Well, I'm analytical. Did y'all ever do Enneagram? I'm number 5. I'm the
Oh, not
analyzer.
this again.
I know you've got to do it. You've got to do it. Have you done it, Erica?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna make y'all both do it.
I'll do
Okay. Yes, it's so interesting too, just to like hear about how everybody's brains work. But analytical facts. Just give me boom, 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 bullet points. I just want the facts.
So is this backwards for you guys, or does it look good?
That looks good.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
it's gonna blow your mind because it's gonna be backwards for you. Remember the first time
Okay.
I used a board, I actually like recorded it and was like, wait, it's backwards. And then I played it back. I was like, okay, no,
I'm
you're
a
good.
PowerPoint person, so this is outside of my comfort zone. So this
You're
is
good.
good. Okay, yeah. So I think, like, yeah, exactly. So statistics, seeing where you are on kind of the quote unquote spectrum of personality and kind of getting into the grit of like what that looks like. So the biggest thing with these types is we need to under promise and over deliver. So what does that mean?
What I can tell you, what I can't tell you is that you're cured. What I can tell you is that you will reduce some of your pain before you leave here. Those are facts. That's what I
Yes.
want to hear when I'm buying.
Yes. So that is exactly right, Kelly. And what we're going to get into, since you went to it, I'm going to start with that one. So that would be our statistics, so our stats, right? I think you did an awesome job with, yay, we're not going to be cured after session 1, but you know, you're going to leave with less pain. And I think that's great. This would be the type of person who's like, so how many visits? And you're like, in my head, 4, but for you, 5. Just because you want to over deliver. Oops. Excuse me. So 4 in your head would be the number of visits that you feel like they're going to be needing. And then maybe you could even go 5 to 6 is what you tell them. So that when you get to that 4th visit and you're like, yep, you're ready to discharge. Yeah, we're early. We made it before I told you. They're like, oh yeah, I'm in. This is awesome. Versus like, hey, it's going to take 8 and you have to see them for 10. They're going to be annoyed. And that gets rid of the credibility piece. So that's like the legitimacy of like what you're saying. Now they're like, oof, like you told me 8 and now we're doing 10. Like, I'm annoyed. And I, being the thinker, methodical, analytical individual. Okay, so we're going to go over the specific 4 things. We got into the stats. Great job, Kelly. We're going to go over data, articles, and then backing up value with message and evidence. So
you are speaking my love language. I'm like, this is me. Give me all of the numbers.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so we're going to start with the data. So I have examples of data, but maybe I'll ask you, Erica, what would be a piece of data that someone who's like, hey, like, what do you think about this knee injury? What would you kind of follow through with them then with data?
Two things come to mind. I would want to know like how long is it going to take me to get better and how much is it going to cost for me to do that.
Okay, those are good. And then we'll do time. Okay, money and time. Those are great. So I think data, that's great in terms of price point and time, but I think like patient success stories and testimonials. Like, where's the data about these people who've had the knee pain that you've gotten better? Because for me, I don't even care about the price if you're not able to help me. I think the price is great, but I would sell them first on the success stories of what you've seen. And then the price is just a byproduct, because if you tell them the price first and then the success stories, the price is still in their head and they're like, I don't know, So I would tell them, lead with the success stories and the testimonials, then delve into kind of price point. And then, for that, I would even get a step further and go into our packages and saying, hey, this is a 9% discount. This is the number of visits I'm thinking. Let's go with this package. And then they're like, oh, awesome. Like, you've already, cured the injury that I've had. I don't think it's a bad idea to kind of tail into the price point and the timeline. But first, I want to know what you can do to help me, because that's the only reason I'm talking to you. So I would tell me some data in terms of testimonials, success stories, and what you've seen with my specific knee pain. Does that make sense?
Third-party validation.
Yep, exactly. Okay, articles. We all think like research articles, right? What other things do you guys think about when I say articles?
Maybe in the news, like kind of stories.
Okay.
Is that what you mean? I like only went to journal articles, so.
No, it's great. I just think straight up research. So like for you, Kelly,
Yeah.
a specific example I thought of, because hashtag the new posts of, dry needling the glutes and the benefits, it just came to mind when I was prepping for this. One session of dry needling can equate to 5 sessions of manual. Is that something you'd be interested in, getting better faster? And they're like, what, really? Like fast timeline, fast track? I'm in. So I think showing specific quote unquote data or research articles in a state of brevity. So not like, hey, here's the article, go read it, but more so like, hey, in the literature, this is what has been shown to be beneficial, and these are the XYZ patients where it's worked. And then they're like, oh, really? So they're bought in. So I think more so like articles could be like the news, right? You could bring in, a specific athlete or something like that and utilize that. I think that'd be great. Like,
that's what I'm thinking of. Like, like in the Olympics when we
Yep.
saw Michael Phelps with the cupping, and that was kind of
Yep.
the general population's first introduction. So I'll say, well, do you remember in the Olympics when you see, or have you watched an NBA game and you've seen the circles? And that kind of validate it. It shows the relevancy. It kind of validates like, oh, if it was good enough for a professional athlete, it must be good enough for me,
Yeah. And I think a great thing that's been in the news lately is the CrossFit Games. And not everyone's a CrossFit athlete, but they utilize a lot of similar things such as cupping to get them through. And like Tia Toomey, the fittest woman on earth, like you can use her as an example of like the recovery and things like that. I haven't watched all the games yet. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Backup values with message and evidence. So Kelly, this is kind of your bread and butter. So do you want to kind of think of what you would come up with to back up?
Say it again.
Backing up values with a message and evidence.
Oh. Backing up values and message. Now I'm like, why is it my bread and butter?
You said this is my kind of stuff. I love the evidence.
Oh, yes. The top part is. Gotcha. Well, so what I do, because I'm old, is I can say, listen, I've been doing this for 20 years. And what I can tell you is that XYZ. For instance, I've got a patient with very difficult plantar fasciitis. And to me, those things you're just always chasing them around. Like, I don't even usually offer packages because what in the history of what I've seen is like, I don't know. Everybody responds so differently. I do not know how long this is going to take. And that's what I tell them. I've been doing this for 20 years. I do not know how long this is going to take to get you better. But what I can tell you, because what matters is after the butt. They care about after the butt, not before the butt. Like you're engaging in conversation. But what they're going to remember is, but what I can tell you is that this will get better. I don't know the timeline yet, but it will get better with physical therapy,
Yep. So I think that's great. But for me as an analytical, I want to know timeline. So to me, I'm like, oh, really? That's all you got me?
And that's not a good one because that's a trickier diagnosis.
No, it's good. No, it is good because it might come up. So what I would say is I wouldn't even give them a timeline. I would say, I can't assure
Right.
you.
And that's why I
Yeah.
don't, because I'm so
Mhm.
analytical that I'm like, I cannot over promise, under deliver.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would not dare. I'm
Yes.
always going to under promise. Because
So
when you set those expectations, but you cannot meet them or exceed them, I am out. So I'm not going to tell you when. I'm just going to tell you that it's going to get better.
I love it. So what I would say is something along the lines of, I can tell you after one session, you're going to have tools to feel more comfortable and confident than when you walked in today. And also, I can assure you with some of the manual techniques that we're going to do today, you're going to leave here in a little less pain than when you walked in. Does that sound good? They're like, yeah. So I would just make sure what you said was absolutely great. You will get better. I'm bought in, but what can you do for me today? I'm going to be in less pain. I'm going to have more tools. Check, check. I'm good. So I just think going one step further is going to help them feel bought in for those analytical people. Because again,
It's true.
you're under promising and over delivering. So I would even lead with that, Kelly. I can't tell you when you're going to be better, but I can tell you this. Also, in addition to that, you'll be in a little less pain than when you walked in, and you're going to have more tools today than when you came in. So you'll feel more comfortable and confident delving into your injury. Does that sound good? And they're like, yep. So I think that was great. So that is one of the trickier ones. And that's why I wanted to start with it. So any questions with regard to those types of personality styles?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of the times when I'm talking with a patient, before I give them my pitch or I really
Yep.
all these steps into order, I like to really ask the question of if they've had physical therapy before, especially for that particular issue, and what that's been,
Mm-hmm.
and get their sense of how maybe hesitant or bought in they might already be to PT, and
Mm-hmm.
what I could maybe highlight that I would do differently if it wasn't successful in the past. So my question for you then, do you think that would be something to put into any one of these steps? Like, would that be a good, like, added into maybe the second article step or maybe the final step? Or do you feel like that wouldn't really have a place here?
I would add that more into the data. So not only are you giving them data, but you're gathering data. And that is an excellent question. So what I would say is, have you had physical therapy before? If they're like, we'll use Kelly's plantar fasciitis because this could be something that's been going on for years and they just kind of put it on the back burner. And then if they've like been like, no, I haven't, then we just keep rolling. If they're like, yes, I have, then you get into, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well. And this is something we discussed in one of our previous sales calls that Kelly and I went over, which was really good. Like what worked well and what didn't work well. So we know as clinicians what we need to focus on where they were already bought in and kind of play off of that. Like, oh, I saw them for 3 sessions and I just stopped going. You're like, oh, okay, we got another bridge to cross here and we need to get over that bridge before they're going to be bought in. So then I would delve into, okay, this is what I've seen with success stories in the data and really back that up with testimonials, because if they haven't had success, they're already coming in with that objection and you have to over deliver and under promise. So I would over deliver the data because that's what they want to see. Why would I come see you? It hasn't worked before. Like I'm already kind of annoyed, about coming to PT as a whole. But the fact that I'm interested and I have objections, great selling points. So I would just go over those. The ones that didn't work well, dive into those. Okay, well, they had me on the bike and it just flared up my, Achilles a little bit and it was really hurting my bone. I didn't want to bike for 10 minutes while they were seeing their other patient. Oh, really? Well, we're all one-on-one here. So I'm not going to, put you on the bike while I'm working with another patient. We're going to delve right into your injury and do not worry. We're not going to do the bike at all in session 1. We're going to get down to the gist of what's really going on and what's aggravating it. Does that sound good to you? And they're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm loving it. And then just keep going. Keep the conversation open. But I think that's a great point, Erica. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay.
That's a good question.
Any other questions before we move on? No. Okay. All right. We're going to go over actor or expressive type. These people, you want to allow them to talk. So what do you think about these types? So I'm going to do allow them to talk.
This is my husband.
Colin.
I would think, sorry, I just want to say off the bat, I would think that this might be like the chronic pain people too, or the people who just like maybe it's really obvious from the start that no one has actually just allowed them to speak and really feel like they've been listened to. And that's like, you could do that for them. That would get them bought in and sold before even going through any other steps.
I would agree.
A really good point.
And I think these people just want to talk. Like, let them talk. And then ask the questions based on that. So I'm going to go over a couple of specific points and then we'll delve into each. So, okay, with these people, Erica, you got to reel them in because they could go on for 30 minutes and you get nowhere, right? Which is great. We want to hear them talk, but we got to be specific on how we as providers can help, because otherwise they're going to be kind of lost in the sauce because they just want to keep going in the circle of like, hey, I've had this neck pain for years. It's not really helping me. Like, they're going to tell you your story, but then you can't get a word in edgewise. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, we're almost 40 minutes in and I still haven't tested your range of motion. So I think with these people, you got to let them talk, but it's got to be an interactive conversation. And then they do well with encouragement and compliments. So we'll go over some role play. I'm just going to write these down. So start spinning your wheels on what you think will be beneficial for these types, and then casting a vision with them. So this would be the vision of their success in PT and how we can help. Okay, so be specific on how we can help. So how are we going to help these people? So they come in, they start telling us their whole life story. We're allowing them to talk, right? But it's got to be in what?
I'm just laughing. I'm like giving them a stage. We give them a mic and a stage. I'm just here.
Yep, mic and stage.
Get your popcorn. I've got my popcorn. You go right ahead.
So I think we'll delve into chronic pain because it's great and you have expertise in it, Erica. And I'll role play with you a little bit if that's okay. And Kelly, chime in whenever. This is totally open format and interactive. Okay. So I've been dealing with neck pain for years. And I'm just telling my story. How do you feel like you as a clinician, Erica, with your expertise, how could you be specific and help them? Well, still allowing them to talk because they want to be expressive and tell you what's going on. But how can you not be like, hold up. Can you just pause your story? We got to get through this eval. No, that's not the approach. But how could you delve in and ask some clarifying questions to allow you as the clinician to help them and get them bought in so you can keep the session going?
Yeah. So especially with this population, the subjective is very important because you have your answers, while they're speaking and before they're even done. So, I always like to just make my questions very specific, like you said. So not just really broad of like, oh, how's your pain today or whatever it might be. But I like to really stay specific. So like ask them like, give me one activity that your pain is impacting, right? So something like that. Because if I ask specific questions, I can then get really specific into how I help them. Like it feeds one to the other. So asking specific questions like that instead of being more general.
I like it.
They give me their like biggest pain points, then that's exactly how I turn it around and tell them, okay, that's exactly what I'm going to help with. And we're going to do this, right?
I love it. So after that, they do really well with encouragement and compliments. So maybe we play off of your prior question of like, have you had physical therapy before? And they're like, no, I haven't. You're like, awesome. Well, I'm an expert in chronic pain. And, after one visit, we'll have you feeling more comfortable and confident with your pain symptoms. So you don't feel like it's taking you down throughout your workday and things like that. But I also think like the encouragement and compliments, what could you say to them after you ask them about their pain point? That's encouraging or a compliment.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely can depend on what they say. I would say like validating is always a good place to go to. So whatever it would look like, whether you're validating like, oh, thank you for sharing that for me.
Yes.
That might not have been the easiest thing to do. And just validating they were open and honest with you, or validating, if they've had PT experience in the past, validating like, well, that's awesome that you even gave it a try. I mean, it might not have been a successful outcome, but good for you because that takes hard work and commitment, and
I love that.
That way.
I think to just like hearing them, and then you go into your next question. And I will say the vision, casting the vision with them. So now that we've validated them, we've asked them kind of that one thing. So we're not going in this huge loophole, but we're focused on that one thing. And like Kelly and I have talked about before, it might not be that thing that we delved into. It might be something else, which we find out with further questioning that is the reason why they're coming to us today. So yes, they're neck pain, but maybe it's because they've got to drive their kids to sports and they can't check their blind spots. And that's the real thing. But the neck pain is just what's causing them not to be able to do that thing. So I think the why is kind of the underlying, but I think the vision would be for you, Erica, with that example, you've been dedicated to physical therapy in the past. Sorry it didn't work well for you, but did you know that like if you work on your home program 4 times a week, when I see you again next week, you're going to be in less pain and have more range of motion to be able to check those blind spots than you do today. Does that sound something that you would like to try? And they're like, yep. And then they're bought in. So I think the vision is like getting them bought in, but also knowing like this is a do it with you, like concierge. We do it with them. It's not a do it for you. Yes, we can do manual therapy, but it's a do it with them. And we want to make sure that they're excited and they're going to tell people like about PT because they're telling everyone about their injury probably, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think in some of the specific questions or the way that we handle our subjective sometimes too, like asking them about their barriers. Like if they have had PT in the past, because a lot of these people are really expressive. There are people who have like, they've been through it, whether it was PT, whether it was a lot of doctor's visits or whatever, and they just have a lot to talk about. They have a lot to say. And asking them about like what were their barriers, so like why didn't you do your home program in the past or whatever, and they're like, well, I just didn't understand why we were doing this exercise, and be like, oh well, then say like, well, when you work with me, like I make sure that you understand exactly the reason behind these exercises and exactly how that's going to get you to feeling better. Yeah.
And then I would just say like the encouragement and compliments, like keep those rolling actively throughout the conversation. So I'm going to give you an example of someone who I've seen for 3 visits. They're training for an Ironman, and they are a habitual overtrainer. I've known them for years. I've never treated them, but like, I mean, we're doing like 40 miles, 20-mile splits on the cycling and still running. They came to me. They're like super like expressive and excited about continuing to train, but like kind of frustrated. And then we started going through the eval, and it's like, oh, I'm really weak. Like kind of like I'm excited, but then like the excitement kind of went down after we started testing like abductors and hip flexion. So I think like for those examples of when maybe you start testing and like the expressive or actor type comes down a notch, like, no, this is totally okay. Why would you be here if you were 5 out of 5 strength, right? Like we got to start somewhere. And then they're like, oh yeah, you're so right. Why I would not come if I was not, a little weak. So I think like also like playing into those quote unquote pain points or weaknesses is really important. And I think someone like this who I'm rehabbing, like, hey, I helped a patient train for an Ironman actively a little over a month out, and she didn't have to stop training with her Ironman coach. We worked in tandem together and allowed, the progress to keep going, but the pain to come down. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Because immediately when people come in, they think we're going to say, no, you shouldn't be doing anything. And like truly, our concierge skill set is to work in tandem with other individuals and like not necessarily step on toes, but like give them all the tools so that they can continue to do what they love. So I think also sometimes with this type, you can see overtraining, you can see, what they've all tried. They want to tell you everything. But then like honing in on how you specifically can help with their strength deficits and range of motion deficits as well. Does that make sense?
And these people have big swings, big positive. I'm going to tackle everything, or like my abductors are weak. I'm never going to run again. It's terrible, And so and navigating those big swings is important in this crowd.
And I think just like joking personality, like they're already expressive. Like joke with them a little bit. That's okay. They like that. Do we have any further questions with this type of personality? Okay, cool. So next is going to be the driver, the doer. So this is the one click done. Okay. They want to know where they can swipe. No, I'm just messing, but truly where they can swipe their credit card. They're ready to go. And we'll go over kind of what this type of personality is and how we can navigate it. So with the driver or the doer, they want to get to the point. Tell me the point of why I'm even talking to you. So, like, get to the point now so I can get better now or even yesterday. Check, check, check. Okay. So with these people, how do we feel they're going to differentiate from the actor or the expressive type?
Probably kind of in between, right? Oh, sorry. What were you going to say, Erica?
I was going to say they probably don't have too much to say. Like they might not want to tell you their whole life story.
Boom. Exactly. They don't want to tell you the whole life story. So we don't use overly emotional language. Like, you're so awesome. Good job. No.
Hey,
Not.
Shania,
Yeah.
would you mind using the black marker again?
This is blue. I can switch back to blue or a darker one. Yeah.
Yeah, switch back to the one you were using because that one's a little hard to see. Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
I've
I
been
just want
trying to
everybody
use a
to see
different color every time. So sorry about it. Okay. So, yes, they don't want overly emotional language. They want to get to the point. So with these people, you need to be succinct, direct, and not overly emotional. And they don't want to hear your whole life story, nor do they necessarily want you to tell them theirs. So that is exactly right. Another thing, we like to ask a lot of questions. These types of people might get annoyed with that. So we need to be very clear and specific. So
Do you feel like this is you, Shania? Is that why you're saying we? Is this you?
No, I think I'm more of the last one, the friendly or amiable, where I need to like think about it. No, I think these people are like, tell me what you can do for me. Let's get to it. So don't ask too many questions. Be specific. And how is that going to work? So I'm going to go over some examples of this one because I do feel like it's a trickier one. Since we're in the summer months, I think a great example would be someone who has strained their hamstring water skiing. So they're like, yeah, I strained my hamstring water skiing. Like, I'm not going to be able to complete, club water skiing team come fall. Like, I'm really annoyed. Like, I can't even ski without it hurting. It's super bruised. Everyone's asking me, like, when I'm coming back, like, can you help me? What would you guys say to that?
I'm trying to differentiate between what I would say naturally to versus like what I know you want me to like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would ask way too many questions to this person, and they probably just want the end result, right? Like, yeah. So my natural inclination would be like, well, what happened? How long has it hurt? Where do you want to get to? That kind of thing. But I have a feeling that's not where you're wanting me to go.
Exactly. So like, same. I want to be like, okay, do you slalom? Do you ski on two? Like, and they're like, okay. Like, they don't want to get into that. I would save some of that for the initial session. You can build rapport then. But I think with these people, we need to be more direct. Like, okay, so hamstring strain, just being totally honest, this is an injury that, can kind of be a roller coaster because we're dealing with some tendons which take longer to heal. And man, do you have some bruising back there? So I feel like this is one that's going to be a little bit longer in terms of recovery. I can't give you a hard and fast answer, but what I can tell you, like Kelly said before, is that are you ready to have less pain in your hamstrings than when you came in? Because that's what you're going to feel on the first session. And they're like, yep. All right, well, when works well for you? I have an eval on Monday at 10 or Wednesday at 3. So I think
basically you're just skipping to the end.
Yep. So I think like save the questioning and the emotional piece, like play a little of that in the eval. But like, for instance, here's how I would want to be. I'd want to be like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Water skiing is so fun. We're in the summer. They're kind of like, yeah, I already know. Like, I already know. Yeah, I've been water skiing since I was 5. Like, thanks. So I think this is the hardest one sometimes to kind of bypass. And now that was like warp speed. Like, okay, I asked about the injury and then I'm done. We're probably gonna need some more information. Like, when did this happen? You're gonna have to ask them a few things. I would say like, when did it happen? How much pain are you in? And then are you ready to have less pain? Like maybe 3 things. And it's gonna be different for every person, but I think feeling it out if they're excited to share, because again, I'm going like the ultimate extreme of someone like doesn't want to hear it, right? But they could be a little in between, like you had voiced, Kelly, like where they're maybe a little friendly, but they want to get to the point. So I think we need to find that happy medium with these guys, but also being direct. And like, if they're like, well, wait, how many sessions before I book the eval do you think this is going to take? Because like, I got to ski in September. I mean, we're going to Tennessee for club. So like, am I going to be back or what? Like, they might be rude and like want to just be to the point, where then you could go back to our thinker analytical, because they're kind of bopping in between. You could be like, well, in terms of specific, visits, I can't tell you an exact number, but what I can tell you is that you're going to have less pain. And if you don't do anything, we're probably going to be way further behind than if we start now in September. Like, I would love to get you to Tennessee in September. Do you want to go for sure in September? And they're like, yep. So then I would go back to the less pain after one session. and playing on the things that they want. They want to go to Tennessee in September. That's their why. Let's play on that versus giving them a hard and fast number so that we're not over promising and under delivering in the opposite direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're really working backwards because usually another ultimate goal and then break it down into something small that you can know you can deliver on, really.
Yes. And I think it's going to be hard with these guys because the questioning is the reason we love to sell and, cast our vision and our expertise. But these guys, you got to be a little more direct. So I think kind of feeling out the conversation and then getting to the point of like, hey, let's schedule an eval. And then you can even feel them out further in the eval, but just get them bought in, and they're already coming to you. So they want to get better and they want to be done with it. That's why I use the water skiing example, because that sport's like really intense. And the summer is a lot of times where people strain their hamstrings and, they're not wanting to rehab until, they can't do the activity. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, friendly, amiable. I'm going to use a different color. I'm just going to stick with this one because it's nice and dark. Okay. Friendly, amiable. So do you guys know what amiable means? It's a weird word.
Agreeable, right?
Kind of, yeah. So it's truly
Moldable.
like, what do you think, Erica?
Yeah, like moldable, basically like easily influenced.
Yeah. So they're having or displaying a friendly and pleasant manner. They're just excited to hear what you have to say.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Optimistic, ready to roll. So this is kind of where I think I fall. So process to buy may take longer. Kelly's like chuckling in her head. Truly. Okay. So
I'm like, here's the card, and Shania's back there going, oh, wait. Let me, hold on.
Yep. So these people might be a little analytical and methodical as well, but the biggest thing is like the process just may take longer. They truly just might be a little slower, and that's okay. So I think the biggest 2 points we'll go over, and we'll go over specific examples, are, first of all, they need more time to think. And I'm reading Smart Brevity, so maybe I will change on the amount of time that I need to think. No, I'm just messing. But that book is really good. So I think like these people take a little longer to think, and that's okay. Erica, where do you think you fall now that we've gone through all of them? Kelly and I have voiced.
No, that's what I was just thinking. I'm like, what's Erica?
Yeah.
Wait. Should we guess?
Yeah.
Should we guess, Shania?
Because I feel like
I think you might be the third, like the previous one. Like tell her the end and then break it down.
So driver or doer?
Yeah, I think I'm like between that one, because usually I'm just like, just tell me the facts, like, and if they're good facts, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like I about it. I'm between that one and maybe like the first one.
That's what I was gonna say, the analytical, because you like your data. You're all about the data. Yeah, no, I was gonna say that too. The driver or the doer, like, let's get it done, but also the analytical, like, what have we seen works well? Okay, so these people, you got to follow up, but not too intensely. And the biggest thing is it's going to take them time. So what specific rebuttals would come up with someone like with this personality? So you kind of start selling them on PT. They don't want to book. They're going to say something because they got to think about it.
I would say a big one would be like, yeah, I'm not really sure. Like, I think I need to talk to my like spouse or whatever. And
that's what I was going to say.
Exactly what I wrote down. Talk to the husband or spouse.
Because they just want something to like buy them more time.
Yep. Okay. How would we rebuttal that? I need to talk to my husband or spouse.
I'm trying to think how you've responded to this before to people, because I think you've said something like, that sounds great. You can absolutely, I would love for you to have that conversation with them. What if we go ahead and put you on the books for next week, because that will book up, and then you can decide, do I want the 9% discount or not? I'm thinking about someone you've already evaled, and then you're trying to get them to commit to a package. But I guess really we should think about, because we're wanting our providers to think about booking new patients. So like if you're out in the wild, right, like out in the community talking, you definitely need to talk to your partner about that. Can I go ahead and find a spot for you, because I will get full next week? kind of just
Yeah.
have something on the books because they're so friendly and happy to be there. If you hold
Hmm.
them to a commitment, they and like have a spot, they're gonna. I feel like they would be much more likely to keep it. Is what I'm
Yes.
thinking.
Now they might be like, well, I gotta look at my schedule. I'm really busy. I gotta go look at my schedule. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, thought I was just gonna get that sale. So I think I would go one step further before you even ask them to book, and I'd say, why do you say that? This happened to us with someone that Kelly and I were conversing with recently, where like, why do you have to, speak with your husband? What is that sticking point for you? And they shared, and it was the absolute opposite of what we thought it would be. So I think the kicker is like, why do you say that, or why do you ask? Those are a big two that have been
Like
uncomfortable for me personally, and Kelly probably as well. I don't know if you've used it, Erica, yet, but
everything's uncomfortable for me. Like questioning anybody is uncomfortable for me. So yes,
so okay, I need to talk to my spouse. Why do you say that? What would they maybe say?
I got to see if they can keep the kids.
Okay, awesome. So with regard to that, that's a great one because it's like, okay, I don't have childcare. So now you could maybe sell them because like they're bought in. They just got to make sure that it's covered. Okay. Do you think that you would be able to get your husband to watch the kids more so? Would it be better in the later afternoon or evening hours?
Late afternoon.
Okay, awesome. So on Tuesday, I actually have a 2:30 p.m. Do you want to just go ahead and book that? Because next week's already filling up. I usually book out, 2 to 3 weeks in advance, but next week I can actually get you in at 2:30 on Tuesday. Does that work well for you?
Look what you just did there.
Right. So you need to, this is literally what I love doing. So even though it's definitely like nerding out, yeah, I love selling to people and it's really fun to hear their story. And the thing that you guys do is you love people and you love talking to people. And you guys, I'm talking to everyone. So if you're watching this back, like, why are we PTs? We love talking to people. So get comfortable with asking the questions and learning more about them because in our head, we might be like, oh, they probably think it's too expensive. Now they don't have an hour. They don't want to come. Like, are my charge rates too high? Like, this is the inner workings. Leave all of that. No, we can't go there. That's down a black, dark hole that we don't want to be in. Ask the clarifying questions and get uncomfortable. I think another one I want to go over that's going to be even more uncomfortable in the spouse is I need to figure out my finances. And you're like, oh, Lord, like, not CPA here. Like, I don't want to deal with this. So, what would we say if they said to you, I got to figure out my finances?
Do we use the same question? Why do you say that?
Yep, exactly. Why do you say that? And they're like, well, my basement flooded last week and, we didn't have flood insurance and we didn't even know we were in a floodplain. The sump pump just went out and now, like, I have to pay $5,000 to deal with that. And what do you say?
I'll catch you next year. So sorry. I'm backpedaling. I'm backing up so fast in this. I don't know. What would y'all do?
What would you do, Erica?
No, I feel like I would, for some reason, and this is definitely could be wrong, but I feel like my follow-up question was like, well, what's the pain point for you? Is it the price of one individual visit, or is it how often you think you might need to come, or like something like that to get them to really pinpoint like what is it, and then have a rebuttal to that, basically.
Yes. Okay. I think that's wonderful. So then I'm like, well, I don't know. This might be like $1,000 investment by the time I'm done. So I'm just like really spinning my wheels in terms of numbers. Like, what do you think? Like, how many visits? What would you say? I know this is why we're doing it.
I feel like my default would be like, well, it I would probably side on like, well, I can't necessarily give you an exact number of visits, but I know that it's really important for you to feel better, especially in this time that's really stressful and you got all these other things to deal with. So why don't we just book the first visit? We'll get you feeling better after that first visit, and then we'll like talk moving forward. I don't know. But
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So I would say like, yep, the one thing. And I think that's good. And I would say too, like they got to be able to get in their basement. So if it's like an injury that's going to impair them from getting downstairs. So like if they're having pain and cumbersome, like I know that this is a horrible time, but like we got to be able to get you down to that basement because when your husband or spouse or family member asks you to help carry up boxes, like you want to be able to help them, right? And then they're like, yeah, like this has been going on way too long. So I would play on that. I would also go a step further with what you said, Erica. So get them for the eval, and then they come in. And this might be someone where you can space it out a little bit more and give them a little more tools and just say, normally I'd want to see you once a week. But just for the sake of time, I'm going to put a little more on you if that's okay. But you're going to need to work really, really hard outside of our sessions together, and I'll start seeing you once every 2 weeks. So that way, we're securing the finances, giving you the most amount of time to work on your exercise, because I know this is a busy time. You're cleaning out the basement, things like that. But ultimately, I want to get you to be able to get down that basement. So then when that new carpet gets replaced, you can go down there and play with your kids. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? And they're like, yep. So I think with them, we go back to the analytical, under promise and over deliver. So I think don't be too specific, but also get them in, because me as a personality, I feel like I go between the friendly and amiable to the driver or doer. And I feel like a lot of these people sometimes do, because once they have enough information, their wheels are spinning, they're ready. Let's go, So I think sometimes we got to go over that bridge a little bit faster with these ones and ask the hard questions, because these are real questions. They're truly what people ask all the time. And I think playing in that 9% discount would be good. And maybe this is someone where maybe you think it's going to take 6, but you put them in the 4 package so that you're under that $1,000 threshold that they already said, I don't want to spend $1,000 on this. But then once they start seeing results, they're going to be more and more bought in. And then the price is just a byproduct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I want to give you guys, so this is the last personality type. Congratulations to making it to the end. Very, very challenging sometimes. And I'm by no means an expert, and people are challenging, and there's no one necessarily that's going to fit perfectly into each of these molds, but knowing the tools of how we can pivot shift and work through them is really important, because again, it's meshing colors together. Same thing with personalities. You can blend some of these together, and we're going to see them often in the workplace. But I think the key is always playing on the emotional, like we've talked about. So the emotional ties, not giving too much information. So Kelly, you had mentioned, your expertise, you're a very tenured clinician. I think that's great for your credibility and legitimacy. And then following that up with hey, after one visit, most of my patients with ankle pain are feeling better, so using the credibility, but then tying into the emotion of what they're experiencing. And then I think the biggest thing is I want everyone on the team and beyond to feel more comfortable and confident with objections and rebuttals. Because I feel even in this conversation today, we all get kind of deer in headlights. Oh, really? Finances? I'm a PT. I'm not a finance person. But truly, we got to know why. And it's not necessarily their finances. It's all the stress and all the things going into it. So, it's not necessarily that someone doesn't have the means to pay always, but it's the means are being divvied elsewhere. And how can we help them, be bought in from a perspective of what we can provide? And I think the biggest thing is building trust and being patient, except with the driver or doer. We're going to build a little trust, then we're going to get them booked. Okay. But I think building trust and being patient is really important, because sometimes you're just well, Kelly, you said oh God, the $5,000, see ya. Bye-bye. No, we got to be patient with those guys, because they have a lot going on, and you might be their therapist in this conversation, not just for physical, but mental, because they don't even know where tomorrow is going to be at this point. They just, are kind of in a death spin, if you will. So if you can be that person that makes them feel heard, that's going to allow them to feel bought in and buy sooner. Does that make sense?
I love this. I think would be almost just give everybody homework with this. I wonder if we can, I don't know if we need to make a worksheet or what, but I would love for everyone to look through their patient list and find one person in each personality. Because I'm already thinking oh, that was this conversation, and what I could have done better is this, and this, depending on, by being able to just locate that. Because really objections are opportunities, right? If they didn't have an objection, they wouldn't be interested.
Right.
If they just weren't interested, they would just say, no, thanks. But instead they're saying, I can't afford it. Well, that's an objection. Oh, why can't you? Why do you say that? Because they might in their mind be thinking it's some kind of $10,000, investment. And in reality, it might just be 2 visits, so.
Right.
So I think that this was so good. This is so interesting.
I have one last thing. Thank you. I have one last thing with the money piece. So sometimes giving examples of other services that are similar to physical therapy where people don't bat an eye. So with women, I often use like a facial or massage. With men, I'll use like a massage or, something that they like to do, like getting their haircut. Like think about like haircuts are expensive, massages are expensive, facials are expensive. I mean, using like these different services that aren't PT, like people will pay $250 a session and not think about it, and it's not necessarily rehabbing their injury. So sometimes you can also go down the hole of like comparison, and it's not discrediting our services, but it's just building perspective of like, oh yeah, right, like I paid $170 for my facial and then I tipped on top of that, and you're offering me a 9% discount. Oh my gosh, I'm in, and that's what's going on in their head. They're not going to necessarily vocalize that, but I think sometimes putting in perspective, and it doesn't have to be those examples, but if someone is paying to work with some type of entity and it's worked well for them and they're bought into that type of service and you just know that about them, you can always utilize that too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really good.
Cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate your role play today and helping me out.
Awesome. It was so good. I can't wait to see what's going to be next. Who knows? It'll be really good. Thank you,
Yeah.
Shania.